Spicy reading. Step 1. Read or listen to the text. Solomon Northup was a free Black man who was kidnapped in New York and sold into slavery for 12 years. He was finally returned to freedom through the efforts of New York's governor. In the following selection, he describes how cotton was raised on his Louisiana plantation. The hands are required to be in the cotton field as soon as it is light in the morning, and with the exception of 10 or 15 minutes, which is given them at noon to swallow their allowance of cold bacon, they are not permitted to be a moment idle until it is too dark to see, and when the moon is full, they oftentimes labor till the middle of the night. They do not dare to stop even at dinner time, nor return to the quarters, however late it be, until the order to halt is given by the driver, the person who is the boss of the enslaved people. The day's work over in the field, the baskets are toted, or in other words, carried to the gin house, where the cotton is weighed. No matter how fatigued or weary he may be, no matter how much he longs for sleep and rest, a slave never approaches the gin house with his basket of cotton, but with fear. If it falls short in weight, if he has not performed the full task appointed him, he knows that he must suffer. And if he has exceeded it by 10 or 20 pounds, in all probability his master will measure the next day's task accordingly. So, whether he has too little or too much, his approach to the gin house is always with fear and trembling. Most frequently, they have too little, and therefore it is they are not anxious to leave the field. After weighing, follow the whippings, and then the baskets are carried to the cotton house, and their contents stored away like hay, all hands being sent in to tramp it down. If the cotton is not dry, instead of taking it to the gin house at once, it is laid upon platforms 2 feet high and some 3 times as wide, covered with boards or planks, with narrow walks between them. This done, the labor of the day is not yet ended by any means. Each one must then attend to his respective chores. One feeds the mules, another the swine, another cuts the wood, and so forth. Besides, the packing is all done by candlelight. Finally, at a late hour, they reach the quarters, sleepily and overcome with a long day's toil. Then a fire must be kindled in the cabin, the corn ground in a small hand mill, and supper and dinner for the next day in the field prepared. All that is allowed them is corn and bacon, which is given out at the corn crib and smoke house every Sunday morning. Each one receives as his weekly allowance 3.5 pounds of bacon and corn enough to make a peck of meal. This is all. No tea, coffee, sugar, and with the exception of a very scanty sprinkling now and then, no salt. An hour before daylight, the horn is blown. Then the slaves arouse, prepare their breakfast, fill a gourd with water, and another deposit their dinner of cold bacon and corn cake, and hurry to the field again. It is an offense invariably followed by a flogging, to be found at the quarters after daybreak. Then the fears and labors of another day begin, and until its close, there is no such thing as rest. In the month of January, generally, the 4th and last picking is complete. Then commences the harvesting of corn, plowing, planting, picking cotton, gathering the corn, and pulling and burning stalks. Occupies the whole for the 4 seasons of the year. Drawing and cutting wood, pressing, cotton flattening, and killing hogs are but indecent labors. All right, step 2, answer the questions.